Hello everyone and welcome to GamedayU. I'm Tyler DeLuca, joined here by Amaya Ward. Amaya, how are we feeling today?
I'm good. I'm excited. How are you?
I'm great. I'm
That's
so
good.
excited to be here in the Lloyd Noble Center, the house that Sherri Coale built. So as she retires, let's send it over to a video honoring Sherri Coale.
Being the head coach at the University of Oklahoma has been the privilege of my lifetime. In April of 1996, I accepted this job, my dream job, as a native Oklahoman. I thought I had died and gone straight to heaven. Basketball was my first and deepest love, and I have been fortunate to be able to chase that love for 25 years. I still cannot believe the ride that Oklahoma women's basketball has taken me on. I have had the time of my life. It has filled me and helped me become. But it's time to do some different things. I so wanted to build a place where Oklahoma kids could come and have a chance to win a championship, a place that would be adequately reflecting of this great institution and this amazing state. The task was a big one, and was not for the faint of heart. Coaching is juggling 6 glass pitchers of gasoline while your hair's on fire, and that's what you do all day, every day. And I have loved it. A game that holds no grudges, holds no judgment, simply presents itself to help you grow. That's what this game does. I don't even know how many games I've won, and nothing could be less relevant to me. What is relevant to me is the people that have been on the journey. I remember the championships. I remember balloons all over this floor. I remember cutting down numerous nets. I remember plane rides and bus rides with kids dancing up and down the aisles. Boy, you couldn't make this stuff up. The things that we've had to deal with. I also remember as acutely the locker rooms, the banquets and saying goodbye to kids, the painful losses.
The Florida Gators have come into Norman and handed the Sooners a 19-point defeat.
Who's your leader? Who's going to put the anchor in and say, this is who we are. This is who we are. And this is what we're going to stand for, and this is not what we're going to stand for. And this is what we're not going to settle for. All that stuff that's hard and gnarly and complicated and painful carves the capacity for all the other stuff that you get to enjoy. So thank you. It's been an honor, Oklahoma, to be your coach.
Obviously, Sherri Coale meant so much to Norman and OU women's basketball as a whole. So Amaya, what are your thoughts on her retirement?
I mean, Sherri Coale has had a huge impact. We know, like, she's a legend. With 6 Big 12 regular season championships and 4 Big 12 tournament championships, I mean, she's iconic. She'll definitely be missed for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree completely, and I mean, she is a legend. But sometimes it's okay for some change. You know, she's been here for a really long time, and you know, the last couple of years, you know, we haven't been. It's been 3 years since we've been over 500, and you know, there's been a lot of circumstances, but she keeps making the tournament. You know, so it's not to say that anything that she has done should be diminished or disrespected in any way, because she is absolutely a legend. But I'm excited for the future because there's a lot of foundation to be built upon, and I think someone's going to come in here and be extremely lucky to follow Sherri Coale. But who do you think that person is going to be?
I'm going to go with Diana Jackson Durant, who is Texas assistant women's basketball coach right now. She's an OU former Sooner guard. She played for years. She's been coaching since 2010. She played overseas. I mean, she went on 4 big NCAA tournament runs with Vic Scamper at Mississippi State. And so I think that she's more than qualified. I think that she has the experience, the knowledge of OU. And so I'm super excited to see who they pick.
Okay, I like that pick a lot. But let me have some fun here. I want everyone at home to close your eyes. Let nostalgia take over. Open your eyes after a deep breath and just listen to me. Oklahoma women's basketball head coach, Courtney Paris. Doesn't that just sound right? It really does. I mean, when it comes to former players, there's no one better to ever put on the OU women's basketball uniform. Courtney Paris feels like she holds every record in the record books for OU. She's played professionally for over 10 years, and now she's been an assistant coach for a year under Sherri Coale and kind of got that. She's now hit every level of it. She's coached, she's played professionally, and she played college ball and was the first four-time All-American in the history of women's basketball. So there's not many better. And just imagine the recruitment pitch, of being like, hey, do you want to come play for the greatest Sooner to ever do it? I mean, that's unstoppable. But speaking of recruits, who are you most excited for in this next class?
Okay, so all season we talked about how the Sooners are a guard-heavy team. I'm super excited for Emma Svoboda, 6'3" center from La Quinta, California, who's averaging a double-double. She is the definition of a true post player. She is the height that we do not have right now and that we need. And so I'm super excited to see how she performs overall.
Yeah, I like that pick a lot, but I'm going to my alma mater, Norman High School. Represent, go Tigers. I'm going with guard Kelby Washington. I mean, she's led the Norman Tigers now to back-to-back state championships and an undefeated season. So I think, she's scrappy. She has the heart, the hustle. And last time there was a guard from Norman that came to OU, his name was Trey Young, and that turned out pretty well. So I'm not saying Kelby Washington's going to be Trey Young, but let me get excited about it, and yeah. It's my alma mater, so it might be a little bit biased. But when we return, we are going to talk all about round 1 from March Madness, so stick around. Hello everyone and welcome back to GamedayU. I'm Tyler Lucas, still joined by Amaya Ward live in Lloyd Noble Center. Well, let's talk March Madness. Round 1 is finished, it's completed. So who was the MVP of round 1 for you?
My MVP for round 1, I'm going to go with BYU's Paisley Harding. I mean, she dominated against Rutgers. BYU took that win with a 69-66 upset over number 6 seed Rutgers. I mean, she was sparking on offense and defense. She drew fouls that caused Rutgers very important possessions that, in my opinion, lost in the game. She was very aggressive. She was on her feet, and I mean, players make plays, and Paisley did what she had to do.
Yeah, I mean, she was incredible. I was watching that game biting my nails because if you remember last week, I picked Rutgers as my Cinderella. Made me look a little bit stupid, but she balled all the way out. My MVP, I'm going to go to Alabama, and I'm going to talk about Jordan Lewis, who was just absolutely incredible on the game. If you want to talk about impacting a game and looking at the box score, sometimes that doesn't always tell the story. This time it does. Lewis scored a career high 32 points with 11 rebounds and 8 assists, nearly a triple-double to open March Madness against North Carolina. And these stats alone are extremely impressive, but you can't overlook how she got there. Lewis went 11 for 21 from the field, 4 for 7 from behind the arc, and 6 of 8 from the free throw line. She was attacking every angle, every area of that North Carolina defense and was succeeding in every way. She was extremely efficient in getting to this and getting to those stats. So sometimes, you see people put up stats, but they aren't playing winning basketball.
Yeah.
But for the first time in a long time, Alabama women's basketball was playing some women's basketball, playing winning basketball, excuse me. So Jordan Lewis led the team to their first NCAA tournament win in 22 years. So obviously, yes, the individual performance is impressive, but the only stat that matters in March is wins. And Alabama was able to get that for the first time in a very, very long time. And it was because of Jordan Lewis. So I was extremely impressed by her, and she's absolutely my MVP from round 1. But now we talk players. Let's talk about teams. What team impressed you the most in round 1?
I'm going with Wright State. I mean, that big upset against Arkansas, I don't think any of us were expecting that. I mean, they were led by Angel Baker, who was on fire with a double-double, 26 points and 11 rebounds. They played the better game from tip to buzzer. They were on their feet. They were able to slow down Arkansas. I mean, this was their first tournament win in history. This is such a big deal, and I was very impressed with them. They caused one of, for sure, the biggest upsets in the tournament.
Yeah, no, I mean, that game hurt my bracket as well. But I mean, it was an extremely fun game. You know, I'm glad to see some upsets because, you know, in the first round we didn't see many upsets. We saw the entire first day go with only the top seeds winning. So that second day came around, and it felt like upset after upset after upset. Texas A&M got played really close by Troy, and there was a little bit of controversy at the end there with the foul calls. So it was an extremely fun game, and they were definitely one of the biggest upsets. For me, my most impressive team is going to be Michigan, not because they upset someone, but because they avoided it. Everyone kind of pinned Michigan as that first round upset, you know, against Florida Gulf Coast University, who had a really impressive season, honestly. But I was really impressed by Michigan because not only did they silence everyone that was saying it, but I love the way they did it. It was a close game, honestly, through about 3 quarters. But they pulled away at the end. So they got a little bit of a taste of both. You know, they got to play that blowout basketball, which is always really fun. But in March Madness, you know, sometimes some trials are necessary. You need to be able to go against these games where they're close, where they're hard fought, because that's what's going to happen in March. And in the game, they had Leah Brown led the way with 28 points alongside Naz Hillman, who had 14 points and 13 rebounds with a double-double. And we've seen what Naz Hillman can do. We saw her drop 50 on Ohio State earlier in the season.
Crazy.
And now Michigan went from the team that is probably going to be upset to in the Sweet 16. And they are absolutely rolling. They have all the momentum in the world. And we've seen how these players can heat up for the Wolverines. So if I'm anyone that has them near my bracket at all, I'm absolutely terrified because Michigan is rolling and pretty unexpectedly too. And they shut up a lot of people now. So it's going to be really interesting to see how far they can go. But we talked impressive teams. What team disappointed you in round 1?
I'm going to go with my Cinderella Washington State. I mean, they put up a good fight against South Florida, but it just wasn't enough. They lost 53-57. And this was their first NCAA tournament appearance in over 30 years. I had faith. I expected more. I expected better. But honestly, Tyler, I'm disappointed, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure the Washington State faithful are going through it. They're finally in the tournament again, and then that's what happened.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine, you know, it's probably the opposite of how Alabama is feeling right now. But for me, my disappointment, honestly, I was pretty disappointed with round 1 compared to my bracket because, like I said, Rutgers was my Cinderella pick. I talked about it last show. But Arkansas was in my Final Four. So I could basically coin flip here about which team disappointed me more. It hurt my heart more. But I'll go with Arkansas because, like I said, I think they're the better team. They should have. I expect them to go a long way. And, I mean, it just hurt a lot. I saw them upsetting Stanford and going all the way to the Final Four where they would lose to South Carolina. And looking at the regular season, they had built such a strong resume across the board. They upset UConn. They upset Baylor, 2 teams that look absolutely unstoppable right now. They played Texas A&M super close in both games that they played in the regular season. So it just felt like they were the team that could possibly make a run, you know, as, you know, a non 1 through 3 seed. They were extremely ready to this. They have the scoring of Chelsea Dungy, who was extremely impressive, you know, on a WNBA prospect. So it felt like they were going to be able to make some type of run, and then they lose in the first round. And I would just, you know, personally ask everyone in the GamedayU audience to just thoughts and prayers for me in my bracket, because it is just absolutely destroyed at this point. Arkansas totally broke my heart and disappointed me. But when we come back, that's round 1. Let's talk round 2. Stick around. Hello everyone and welcome back to GamedayU. I'm Tyler Luca, still joined by my award in the house at Sherri, Coale built Lloyd Noble Center. We're very excited to have you here. We're ready to talk some round 2 basketball. So what team impressed you the most in round 2?
I'm going to go with Iowa. I really was impressed by that upset that they pulled over Kentucky. They won 86-72. The key to Iowa's game was their defense. They were able to stop All-American Kentucky's Ryan Howard. I'm pretty sure by the end of the first quarter, she only had 2 points. I mean, they were playing so well. They were able to slow them down completely. They held that ball really, really well. I mean, this is their second appearance to a Sweet 16 under Lisa Bluter, and I mean, she knows what she's doing. So these other teams better get ready.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree completely. I think Iowa has something special brewing there with becoming a program that could be a perennial powerhouse. You know, I'm not gonna say they're on the UConn level. You know, I'm not gonna say they're gonna get there because that's a very, very high level to hit. But I mean, I think that they're absolutely on their way to becoming a top 10 team, pretty consistently.
Yeah.
Especially and really honestly taking over the Big Ten, because there's not a ton of really Big Ten powerhouses within NCAA women's basketball.
I agree.
You have like your ACC, your SEC. Obviously, UConn runs the Big East, but I think a Big Ten team is ready to take over, and I absolutely see Iowa with Caitlin Clark being the team to do that. For my team that I was most impressed by, I'm going to go with the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. If anyone has watched this show, I'm very high on West Virginia. I thought I had them going to the Sweet 16, losing to South Carolina. But I love the way that Georgia Tech just absolutely dominated this game. I have mentioned on the show plenty of times that there's a direct correlation between the amount of points that Kaiser Gonzalez scores and West Virginia winning ball games. If you look at the box score, Gonzalez had 3 points on 1 of 6 shooting, and I bet you can guess what happened. Georgia Tech was able to pull off the win because they denied Gonzalez all her shots. They didn't let her heat up at all, which kind of stagnated the West Virginia offense. They weren't able to get anything going, and Georgia Tech, on the other hand, were able to get everything going. They had 2 players score above 20. Lorella Kubaj and Latamaj Latanen scored both over 20, and we're just rolling the entire game. There was no stopping Georgia Tech on the offensive or defensive end. And honestly, I had been kind of suspect of Georgia Tech earlier in the year when we were discussing, the ACC, which conference was the best. I trashed Georgia Tech a little bit. They were the 3rd seed in the ACC under NC State and Louisville, and I trashed on them a little bit because I didn't feel like the strength of schedule for either of those 2 powerhouses were legit.
Yeah.
And they're making me eat my words a little bit. I'm getting a little worried. Do I think they'll beat South Carolina? I bet you can guess my answer. No, I do not think that they will beat South Carolina. Have I been wrong before? As much as I hate to admit it, I absolutely have. So they have the momentum. South Carolina has a lot of momentum. That is a game that I'm so excited to watch and look forward to in the Sweet 16. Going back to to round 2 though, who is your MVP?
My MVP for round 2 is definitely Caitlin Clark. If you didn't know her, you definitely know who she is by now. I mean, she is a 5-star recruit, ranked 4th overall on ESPN guards. I mean, against Kentucky, those 35 points, she killed it. I don't think anybody was expecting her as a freshman. This is her first appearance at an NCAA tournament. Only her 2nd game. I don't think anybody expected her to blow up and perform the way that she performed. And I mean, she definitely won MVP in my eyes, and I know the eyes of many people. What about you?
We share eyes on this one. Like, it is the obvious pick. Caitlin Clark absolutely dominated this game on every aspect. I mean, with her box score, she had 35 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists. I think she had 17 points in the first half alone, which is a good scoring night for a player just in general.
That is crazy.
Let alone in just the first half, I mean, this game against Kentucky was poised to be a dogfight, going down to the wire, and Caitlin Clark just took over. She made it where it seemed like they were just playing some nobody. But Ryan Howard is a first team AP All-American. And I bet there was a little bit of feelings there because Caitlin Clark was only 2nd team behind Paige Beckers and Ryan Howard. So I bet there was a little bit, a little bit extra in there, a little bit to prove. And she proved it. I mean, at this point, the conversation has been Paige Beckers or Caitlin Clark the entire time. I'm starting to feel like I'm leaning towards Caitlin Clark. Do you have an opinion on that?
Really? I mean, Caitlin Clark is definitely stepping up her game. I agree. But I mean, comparing her to Paige Beckers, I mean, let's see how the tournament goes. Let's see if she continues to perform as well as she has, because Paige Beckers has set the bar. So, I mean, if Caitlin can reach it, which I do think she can, I mean, I definitely think she has hope. There's faith. But right now, I'm going to stick with Paige Beckers. She's killing it. We know she is. But I definitely agree with the faith that you have in her.
Yeah. So, continuing on to the Sweet 16, what is your game to watch?
My game to watch is going to be Michigan versus Baylor. This is Michigan's first run in a Sweet 16. So I think any team, when it's your first time making it this far, there's a lot of pressure. All eyes are on you, And so you definitely, especially when you're going against Baylor, who is, if you guys didn't know, the defending champions. And so I think that it's going to be a great defensive matchup. Baylor has really great defense, and Michigan out-rebounded Tennessee, who is one of the top rebounding teams in the nation. And so I think that is going to be a game that everyone wants to see. Everyone wants to see how Michigan performs. I definitely do, and I want to see if the Baylor Bears are hungry for this win again. So I'm really excited to see this game.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that game as well. My game to watch is kind of what we just talked about. When you're talking about matchups, who's better, let's just prove it on the court. I'm talking about UConn and Iowa. I talked about this game. I just got goosebumps just saying it. Like, I am so ready to see this freshman guard matchup. I talked about it on the show before as my hopeful game to see in the tournament, and it's finally here, and it is going to be primetime television. It is going to be a must-watch game. I think you're going to see two eventual household names in Paige Bueckers and Caitlin Clark face off for what's going to be the first time of many. I think that this is going to become a little bit, it's going to be impossible not to compare them because, they have similar play styles, similar positions, both freshmen. It's just impossible not to compare these freshman phenoms. But I'm just glad that Caitlin Clark is finally starting to get the recognition that she deserves because she has been balling all season, she's averaging 27 points a game. That's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah,
in
crazy.
any league, and especially with the pace of women's basketball and everything like that, averaging 27 is just unheard of. So seeing her get that national recognition, finally getting to see this matchup, I feel like it's just absolutely the most must-see matchup.
I agree. That definitely is going to be a great matchup.
Yeah. So kind of shifting a little bit to something that I feel like is a little bit more important than the ball bouncing on the court. We saw a lot of discrepancies between the men's and women's bubble. So I just want to get your thoughts on that. As a woman in sport, I feel like it's so important for you to be able to get off what you want to say about this. So let me hear your thoughts.
Okay, first, let's just start by saying if this doesn't upset you, you're definitely a part of the problem, in my opinion. I mean, definitely not surprised with the incidents that have been taking place. I think that this has definitely happened for a very long time and has just been overlooked. But there's so many other things that women are lacking in sports, especially in the NCAA tournament, not even just the workout, the weight rooms, things from the court branding, just the difference between the women and the men. You could just see the effort, each player gets a swag bag, which is a gift bag for each player, and the comparison between the men's swag bags and the women's swag bags is just a huge difference. The men just received way more substantial items and opportunities. And I mean, the food that's being offered at the NCAA, the men are being treated with buffets. And you see the women, on the other hand, are eating out of prepackaged meals. And it's just not fair. It's never been fair, and I definitely am glad that there's being attention brought out about the situation. The NCAA released that statement, saying that, it was a space issue. Within 24 hours after they were exposed for lying about that, the women's side is now decked out. So that just shows you that they could have done it in the first place. They chose not to, and they're sorry that they got caught, not sorry that it happened.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with everything that you said. And quite frankly, I'm just exhausted. I'm exhausted of women in sports being disrespected in every way. And I know if I'm exhausted as a white guy, I can only imagine, being a woman in sport, how you must feel. But I'm just tired of breadcrumbs being celebrated. I think you said it perfectly. They aren't sorry that it happened. The NCAA is just sorry that they got caught. You talked about the branding. Is women's basketball not good enough for the NCAA to put March Madness on the court? You look on the men's, you can't look anywhere in the arena and not see March Madness. Yeah, you look on the women's side, all you see is women's basketball everywhere. Are they not good enough for your branding? Even the coverage of it. They don't even have photographers in the bubble until the Sweet 16. There's reporters trying to cover this, trying to report on it, or trying to use videos, trying to use pictures, and the NCAA isn't allowing it. So these same people, the same demographic that is saying, you don't profit enough for our attention, you don't profit enough to get our love, are the same ones that are tying them down. It's become a systematic thing because if the NCAA isn't allowing photographers in the bubble to produce their media, if they aren't allowing video members into the bubble to produce their media, to create buzz about this tournament that has arguably the most talent I've ever seen in a women's basketball tournament across the board, I don't know what they expect people to do when it comes to growing the game. If they want to profit off women's basketball, which is absolutely able to happen because the game is growing exponentially, then the NCAA needs to invest back in it and treat them with the respect that these women deserve. Because if they are just going to be feeding them scraps, not showing any care about them, only being sorry that they got caught and then expecting us to celebrate it when they actually do their job, the game is never going to grow at the rate that it should. And they're doing it either way. Women's basketball is growing. Women in sports are more powerful than ever. They have a louder voice than ever. And it's going to be on the NCAA to decide if they want to hop on that train or not. Because women in sports and in basketball are growing with or without them. That's going to do it for us here on GamedayU. Thank you for tuning in. And make sure you tune in to all our social media. We're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, everywhere. So make sure you tune in next week.